Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started. In accordance with the requirements of the New Jersey statutes regarding open public meetings, notice of this meeting was legally advertised in the Courier Post and South Jersey Times and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Fire exits are located through the double doors on your left and right. Please silence all mobile devices. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Here.
Mr. Longfellow?
Here.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Fazio?
Here.
Mayor Gattinelli is at an awards dinner for the high school tonight, so she has been excused. Mr. Platt?
I'm present.
And Mr. Gonta, the business administrator, is at an administrators conference, and he's been excused.
I believe, Pat, you have a presentation for the second graders?
Sure. You want me to go to the microphone?
Yeah.
Last month, the police department held an assembly in all the district's second grades. Officers taught internet safety, stranger danger, bicycle safety, and what to do in an emergency situation. Students were instructed to create a poster that represented what they learned. Posters were judged by the school principals and the mayor. The judges considered the message, creativity, neatness, overall appearance, and the winners will be instructed to come up front. Birch's School, Marissa Brady. Bell School, Amelia Mulhern. Herfield School, Jack Gallinaro. Thomas Jackson School, Tony Marcella. Wedgwood School, Gianna Caven. Congratulations. And Whitman School, Kyle Martinez. Congratulations. We're just going to take a picture. Come on in.
Parents, now's the time to come up and get that nice group shot.
Guys, move in. Big smile.
I feel like we're photobombing.
He just walked in.
All right, guys, great job. I'll make sure you get your posters back, okay?
I forgot
Okay.
to bring something with me, so that's
All right.
Congratulations.
I guess you go back.
And Councilwoman Donato has a 4th of July Grand Marshal to award.
Yes, if I can just have the members of the parade committee join me over as well. So, although this was supposed to be a surprise, it wasn't. but I'm still going to read it as it is a surprise. So, whereas on July 4th, 1776, 13 colonies came together to declare their independence and form the United States of America. And whereas these same colonies, our forefathers, signed a document declaring that all men are created equal and are endowed with certain inalienable rights. And whereas these inalienable rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas, as a nation, we now celebrate that great day to honor our forefathers and all the brave men and women who fought, many who made the supreme sacrifice to preserve these rights then and even now. And whereas, as an expression of that honor, we hold parades, barbecues, and other festivities throughout our nation and in our community. Whereas Washington Township and its residents take great pride in their community and celebrate by holding a 4th of July parade. Yes. And whereas a 4th of July parade needs a leader, a grand marshal, who embodies the spirit of our forefathers and celebrates and preserves those high ideals. And whereas Robert Timmons, a longtime resident, graduate of Washington Township High School, and local businessman of Washington Township, is such a person. Therefore, be it further resolved that Mayor Joanne Gattinelli and Washington Township Council members do hereby proclaim Robert Timmons as the Parade Grand Marshal for the 2017 4th of July Parade for the Township of Washington, County of Gloucester, State of New Jersey. I cried all night. Come on. Very well deserved.
I would like to thank everybody that was involved in this proclamation. On behalf of the veterans, we would like to thank you for bringing the 4th of July parade back. Thank Mayor and Council and the parade committee. And thank you for letting me live the dream.
Sean, will you send me that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Took 100 pictures, so I'll just
Thank
send
you.
all of them.
Yes. You're not getting it.
Let people clear out real quick.
I need to keep these.
She might have family here.
Oh, she has for the year.
Put them in the clear pile.
Yeah.
Way to hop in.
You may have a few things to say
Yeah. Yeah, she can do
before
it.
or after.
Or after. I'll ask them when you go down.
Just gonna have a motion.
Yeah, where are the agendas?
We had some out. I guess they're all gone. I'll have Chrissy make one for you.
She's written it back.
I think I have an extra. What's his name? Ralph? What's his first name?
Ralph.
Ralph.
Chrissy has them.
She's got a bunch in the
Oh,
back
okay.
there.
She's got some in the back. Here's this one. Ralph, you can have this one. We had some out.
Council, I want to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove Resolution 163 up to the front. Yeah, that's the,
Second.
yeah, that's the appointing the special.
Oh.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Mr. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Parry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. And Resolution 163 is resolution appointing a special law enforcement officer, Class 1, in the Police Department of the Township of Washington. Megan, if you'd please come up. Oh, God. Forgetting what we were supposed to do. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Megan, is anyone here that you want to hold the Bibles for you, or you want the chief to do it? All right, just repeat after me. I, Megan Doherty, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the government established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I do further solemnly swear or affirm that I will impartially and justly perform all the duties of the office of Special Law Enforcement Officer Class 1 according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations.
Megan has been a police explorer for 5 years with the Washington Township Police Explorers. She graduated at Washington Township High School last year. She received the annual FOP scholarship. She's entering her sophomore year at Rowan College. She recently graduated the Gloucester County Police Academy as a SLEO 1. So she's certified by the Police Training Commission as a part-time police officer. She learned handcuffing, defensive tactics, disorderly persons offenses, first aid, use of force, and patrol concepts. She will be working at traffic events such as the upcoming 4th of July parade. She'll be working courtroom security. She'll be working community caretaking functions such as Super Saturday. And she will also be permitted to do ride-along, where she'll learn more law enforcement and hopefully one day get sworn in as a full-time police officer. Thank you.
And we'll go to Resolution 162. This is authorizing executive session for labor negotiations. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
We anticipate being in closed session for approximately 30 minutes.
Going to the flag room?
Have to, you never get in that back room.
That motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Here.
Mr. Longfellow?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Fazio?
Here.
Ms. Pasqualone? It's a motion to come back out of public session, ma'am. It passes.
Need an approval for the bill list. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes, abstain to Fazio. Approval of regular meeting minutes, May 10th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 9 is ordinance amending traffic on Salina Road. It was brought to my attention by the engineer that we need to table this ordinance. They need to look at and review this with the administration. So I'm going to make a motion to table ordinance 9.
Second.
Just on that, Leo, in the motion, in the agenda packet, the actual ordinance itself has a 09-2010 number, just make it 09-2017. It's just a typo.
So we have a second to table. Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Ordinance 010, 2017. This is an ordinance amending a chapter of the Code of Washington Township, Chapter 260, Vehicles and Traffic for Stagecoach Road.
Just
This-
just two changes to that, just technical. It's ordinance 10-2017. And in the second whereas clause, it says Salina Road, it should be Stagecoach Road.
I was
What
going
I
to bring
have.
them up, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's just typos.
It was just carryover, just technical changes.
And this ordinance is up for adoption. We will open to the public. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are open to the public on ordinance 010. If anyone has any questions on it, please, you can come up. Seeing no one, motion to close. This is Stagecoach. No, that was tabled. And I'm guessing you're the resident that had an issue with it? That is the reason it was tabled. They're going to review it, and I'm sure our engineer was going to get back to you about that, okay? All right? So nothing has changed on that right now? Yes. All right. We are now, do we roll call for?
You did not do a motion to close the public hearing.
We will motion to
on
close the
ordinance
public
10.
hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that again? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Everybody?
Mr. Perry seconded. Motion now to adopt, sir.
And do we have a motion to adopt?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Motion passes for the adjustment on the Stagecoach Road speed limit.
This is ordinance 0014, 2017. This is amending a chapter of the Code of Township of Washington, Chapter 285 for billboards. Do we have, this is a motion to introduce. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Do these have 2 zeros in them? Or is this just a typo?
No, it's O. It's,
Oh, 0.
it stands for ordinance.
Oh, okay.
O0.
All right. I'm just going to read the 015 at that point. Ordinance 015, 2017. This is rezoning the property known as Block 1960.05 from its current planned residential, one zoning to commercial industrial. Do we have a motion to introduce?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Ordinance 016, 2017. This is ordinance amending section 2.59 of the Code of Washington Township entitled Advisory Board of Economic Development. This is a motion to introduce. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
I'll second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 017, 2017. This is amending the Employee Policies and Procedures Manual for the Township of Washington. This is a motion to introduce. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have an amendment to this motion. I'm sorry, this ordinance. Everything's fine, but I'm asking for an additional amendment to the rules and regulations, specifically on page 38 of the Policy and Procedures Manual, where it states the first sentence in the Energy Efficiency and Waste Reduction Policy. It states that Township of Washington strives to improve, reduce energy efficiency. I want to remove that reduce, that word reduce. It should say improve energy efficiency and reduce waste, not improve, reduce. So it's just fixing a typo. So my motion would be to add, be it further ordained that on page 38 of the Employee Policies and Procedures Manual, in the section regarding energy efficiency and waste reduction policy, that the first sentence eliminate the word reduce after improve.
I'll second Sean's amendment, and we need to vote on that first, I believe, right?
Yes, you must need to make a motion and a second to amend.
No. The ordinance has been
No.
amended on the floor.
It's being amended.
It's been amended on the floor. He's made a motion to amend the ordinance to include not only the application form, but that change on the language change. Council President seconded the amended motion, so now you can do a roll call on the amended motion to introduce this ordinance.
All right, so we'll do that second. Do we have any discussion? Any other discussion on this ordinance? Roll call?
This is a roll call on the amended ordinance. Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. This is Resolution 155, 2017. This is a resolution authorizing tax overpayments, or refund of tax overpayments. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Resolution 156, 2017. This is a resolution adopting a non-discrimination policy. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Resolution 157-2017. This is employee civil rights. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Resolution 158, 2017. This is a resolution authorizing the public auction for sale of municipal property, which is no longer needed for public use. Do we
Those
have
are
a-
mostly police cruisers, by the way. Police vehicles.
police vehicles? Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
How are we auctioning the vehicles?
I thought they were going to put it on Gov Deals.
No, sir.
No?
We're utilizing the same person we employed last
Okay.
Here comes Brian.
Brian will explain.
We're selling the vehicles through J.J. Kane, which is we gave them a sample run last year and gave them one vehicle and compared the return on that vehicle to the exact same vehicle we sold here. And it was like a 200% revenue increase. So we're going to give them the whole lot this time because
Okay.
everything is, the site is in Plymouth Meeting. And all these vehicles actually run, so we can run them up there at very little cost to the township, and we expect a much better return. We estimate between $30,000 and $50,000 for the 20 vehicles.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Resolution 159, 2017. This is a resolution authorizing the Township of Washington to apply for a tonnage grant. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes. Resolution 160, 2017. This is a resolution to increase and/or amend change funds. Do you have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
No.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Passes 4-1.
Resolution 161, 2017. This is approving a large gathering application for a Smile Exchange. Do you have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And we already voted on 163. We'll move to 164. This is Resolution 164, 2017, awarding a contract for the Washington Township Municipal Facility renovations. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Were these the only two bids?
There were, yeah.
The ones listed?
The project was actually bid twice with identical scope, and the first time we didn't receive any bidders. This was the second time, and these were the only two bidders, but it was publicly put out for anyone to bid.
For how many days?
I'd have to look at the exact time frame. The minimum is 10 by law, but it was put out more than that.
Thank
So
you.
if you put it out for twice, it was at
Twice.
least 20 days?
Correct. Well, once,
Roughly.
then we re-advertised again and put it out
Right.
for another cycle.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
It passes.
Council, I'll just ask, does anybody have any old business?
Not this
Seeing
time.
none, we'll move on to our discussions. Is Lake Candle, anyone representing Lake Candle, if you please want to approach?
State your name.
Hey, Jay.
Hi. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yep.
For the
Yeah, that's
record,
it.
my name is Jay Candle. I live at 234 Chapel Heights Road, and I am the owner of Lake Candle Swim Club on 250 Chapel Heights Road. I also own a dam, and affectionately known as the dam owner. We have dealt with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection over the years. We've done all the inundation, hydrology, and hydraulic studies, and we also found through the state of New Jersey that even though our dam, through its formal inspection, was safe, we didn't meet the requirements for the half PMP, which probable most precipitation requirement for flow. We met 100-year no problem. So in 2004, the state of New Jersey had these loan requests, and I applied for one in August 2004. At that time, we had no clue what we would have to do with Candle Lake Dam. I knew that Wadsworth Dam would take $1 million to repair. I knew that Sterling Lake, the next lake up, would take $500,000. So doing the math, I said, okay, it's going to take the Candles $250,000. That was my logic. I applied, and the state of New Jersey that September said, you don't have enough information. We need costs. And by January 2005, I couldn't provide it. However, they told me in December 2005 that I was approved for $250,000. So I went forward with my engineering, and then the state of New Jersey said, well, to go further, you have to have a co-borrower. And I said, who's that? And they said, Township of Washington. So I approached Township of Washington in the winter of 2006, and they co-signed for this loan for $250,000. In 2009, 2010, we did all the reparations that were required for the Candle Lake Dam, and is in compliance. It's safe, and the cost exceeded the $250,000. It came up to $438,000. We made up the difference with other private borrowing. I went back to the state of New Jersey and asked, is there a possibility to make up the difference between the $250,000 that you awarded us and the $150,000 more that we were able to get with private financing? They said, yes, but you'll have to wait till there's another round of funding. So this winter, I received a letter from John Ritchie from the Dam Safety saying that I could apply again for additional funding. That's why I'm here tonight. I'm applying for an additional $150,000 loan from the state of New Jersey, but it would require council to back it as a co-signer.
Council, do you have any questions for Jay? Anybody? Well, we're going to consider it, Jay. We're not ready to make a decision right now. Thank you for coming out. All right?
Okay, I appreciate you taking the time tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Before he leaves, Nick, Jay just wanted to, by the way, I'm Stuart Platt. We talked on the phone
Oh,
a few
yeah,
times.
yeah.
Thank you for the information. I thought when I read the funding round requirements that you needed some, at least, supportive action by the end of May. Is that no longer the case?
No, that's the case for all these dam applications.
Right.
The state of New Jersey would require some type of, it wouldn't be the resolution, but maybe something from the township saying they're considering it.
So I looked at it as a two-step process. You need a letter of support that they would have to approve before the end of May, this month. And then as I looked at the loan funding requirements, that would need to be followed up with a resolution actually agreeing to the co-borrowing within 90 days. Is that your understanding of the program?
That's correct. That's the way I read the letter from the state.
If the governing body council were not to take action tonight, then you would be out of luck in terms of the co-borrowing?
Yes.
Okay. So they need a letter of support. If you're going to do anything, you got to do something. If you don't have to, but if you want to, he would need something by, and the other lake owners will tell you the same thing.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that.
So I don't know how you want to do this, hear everybody, and then we can vote on them or not taking that. It's really up to the governing body. But we wanted to make sure that they had a chance to come in and make their case to you. They've supplied all the information that I requested. I've obviously transmitted that information to council, and I wanted you to hear them live and in person and make their pitch. So I really appreciate you coming out, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
Sorry, real fast. How much did you say again? Just for 150?
150, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
And how much is left on the previous loan? How much is left to be paid off?
Oh, quite a bit. We've only paid since 2011, roughly $18,000 a year we've been paying on that loan.
It's a 20-year 2% loan?
20-year 2% loan, yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happens if, not that you would ever do this, but what happens if a dam owner who had the township co-borrowing and signing on, basically co-signing on the loan, what would happen if the dam owner, lake owner, defaulted on the loan? What would happen, as you understand it?
As I understand it, you would own Lake Candle for $250,000, and you would be able to sell it. And I'm sure that there would be people out there that would love to have 86 acres with 10-acre lake for development purposes.
But also, there's an obligation on the township. If there's a default, then the township is responsible to repay the loan and also make the repairs. In your case, there's no more repairs to make. It'd just be the obligation
Right.
to repay whatever's left on the original borrowing plus the supplemental borrowing. And I would just say, you're right, the township would have a right, because the lake would be used as collateral. You just so you know, you don't get it back that simply. We'd have to foreclose on it, and there's a whole lot of things that go into that. And in addition, you'd be responsible for the dam while, during the period of time the township would own the property, if they would later on try to sell it, if you could get a seller. I'm not trying to take a value judgment. I just want them to know both sides of the story.
Oh, absolutely.
So so they have a well-informed decision, and I appreciate your candor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
So we'll probably act at the end of all the presentations, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Or not.
Okay, thank you.
Bells Lake, if you guys want to come up.
Hello, my name's Chad Julian, 38 Bells Lake Drive, Turnersville. I am the president of Greenwood Park, Bells Lake.
Are you going to speak on behalf of everybody, or is everybody going to speak?
I have my lake chair and my secretary treasurer also. It's just part of the board of directors. And we have our engineer for the plan to go over and discuss our financials, just like.
Why don't we have everybody give their name and address, and please spell your last name for the record.
Julian.
Roseanne Janetti Mankus, JANNETTI-MANKUS, 63 Bells Lake Drive, Turnersville, New Jersey.
Brian Scavetta, SCA, VETTA, and I'm at 333 Chapel Heights Road, Civil, New Jersey.
Kevin Yezdemir. I'm with Princeton Hydro. I'm the consultant engineer, and I'm at, the last name is spelled YEZDIMER, and the address is 1200 Liberty Place in Sicklerville, New Jersey.
So as you heard from the previous Lake Candle, we also got our application for dam development and reconstruction loan application. We have a plan to the state in progress right now for approval. We've gone just about as far as we can before we apply for our loan. As we read through the loan agreement or the loan application, it also stated that we needed a co-signer. We were willing to do everything that we could to do it ourselves, but as per right now, we have to have a co-signer at this time. So we have an approved plan for submittal. We also have cost estimates. All our plans is already submitted, so we are waiting for DEP approval. Kevin from Princeton Hydro has been going back and forth. So I brought him in if you had any questions for the application process. He does have some information for how the funding would go or something like that if you had a question.
What's the amount of your co-borrowing request?
Well, right now it's 900,000, but that is as per the DEP wanted us to apply for money that would be available for the entire project. Just like Lake Candle said, they didn't complete their project with funds. We wouldn't need that much money, but if we weren't approved for enough money and we needed more, we wouldn't be able to get more money. Just like Lake Candle, they would have to come back.
And is your co-borrowing request for that entire amount?
As of right now, we don't have the final approval from the DEP, so we wouldn't know the final approval value.
Can I just interject for a second? This is Kevin Yezdemir again. I'm the consulting engineer for Bells Lake. Just to kind of back up a minute and talk about the status, and Chad had mentioned an approved submission. As you can appreciate, I'm sure it's these dam redesign projects are relatively complex, and there's several submissions that occur over the project development. And
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah. So currently, just trying to give you a status update as to design status. So we do have a set of project plans that were developed a few years ago, based off of the previous gentleman mentioned. His existing facility didn't quite have the required capacity. It's a similar situation for Bells Lake. The existing design plans account for redesigning the primary spillway to account for this spillway design storm event, which can vary depending on location to location. And the cost that we're requesting today, this $900,000, captures our current estimated construction fee. We have an itemized construction fee for that existing plan set. What we've done and what we've been able to do in terms of providing some value engineering on this project is we've identified that this storm event that the project is designed for is a little more conservative than it needs to be. And what we've done is we've updated our hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, or H&H analysis, and submitted that to Dam Safety this past fall. So they typically have about a 6-month or so review process, and they're around 7 months or so. So we expect to receive concurrence from them, and what the concurrence would be is for reduction in the spillway design storm. What it is, not to get into too much technical weeds, but there's the Delmarva unit hydrograph, which represents rainfall in this area, which would in turn correspond to a smaller spillway design storm, and means that we can reduce the size, the extent, the scope, and associated cost with the construction project. So we have prepared I'll call it a pre-final, or we could just call it a draft loan application. We have some copies of that. I think we only have six hard copies of that, but I would be glad to give those to you to help you review our particular case and make an informed decision. But there's some details in there, and where I'm trying to get to on this is that we're hopeful with some concurrence from dam safety that we can significantly reduce the overall construction costs on the project. It's a little too soon to know what that will be, but it's likely significant and could be on the order of several $100,000. I just want to reiterate or just indicate for the first time here tonight that by having the township co-sign at this point in time on the application, it's not committing you to the loan. I actually have a document that I'll give you in addition to the loan application for your review that kind of outlines a little bit of the liabilities and the process, the application process, and how there's subsequent meetings and agreement to terms and conditions of a loan, and that you still have an out if you don't agree to what those liabilities and concerns are down the road. This is just allowing our client to start the process of trying to get in line for this funding, which is revolving and only comes around every few years, if that helps you a little bit. So we can give you that information to.
Yeah, if you have it on you, you can pass it
Yeah.
out.
This is the summary of the loan application procedure a little bit, and that'll help you.
When is this application due?
Similar, it's the same, the 31st of May, so some concurrence or, I'm not sure what the nomenclature is, or an ordinance that you had mentioned previously would be what we were looking for.
Thank you.
So after the application submission, there is a...
You can't talk while you're up here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just touch on something if you don't mind. It won't remember. So after the application submission, there's the review and approval. All these dams are ranked, so you'll see in the loan application, depending on the hazard classification, other parameters of the dam, the size of the dam, the acre feet of water that's retained, the height of the dam, the length of the dam, all these things go into a ranking scale. And at the end of the day, dam safety has to triage and figure out which projects they're going to potentially provide funding for. So this is getting your concurrence on the loan application is allowing the client, my client, to get in that line and see if they will even be considered for some funding. We think that we will because we have a hazard category 2 dam. But following the application, there's a pre-loan conference which would be held between an elected representative of the township and the client and dam safety to discuss details and specifics. And the big takeaway, if you're looking at that sheet, is if you look in the middle there, it says overview of obligations with the municipality or the co-signer. It says that the municipality assumes no financial obligation to the state until the execution of the loan award agreement. And this agreement will be prepared by the state if and when the project is improved. And that's coming from these references down here that you can see there. So hopefully that helps inform your decision. And we do have 6 copies. I think some of them are back at the seat of the loan application that's complete. And that should really help fill in some gaps. And hopefully that helps with your decision process. Do you guys have any questions for me? Or
Nick, I have a question for him.
Go ahead.
What happens if the township declines to support this loan application? How does the dam get repaired?
So, in essence, should you decide to, decline participating with our application or any application, you're in essence removing that potential funding source from whatever the entity is that's trying to receive
I
the
realize
project.
that. That's an
Right.
answer. But what would happen, how would the dam get repaired in that case if the township declined to?
So the community
support?
club would have to find a way financially, elsewise to fund the project. And
To your knowledge, has your client looked at any of those other private or other
I mean, I
funding
don't,
sources?
I'll let you kind of speak to that a little bit.
We have, we can go to Investors Bank and we could do the approval process, but the interest loan would be substantially higher than we get from the state. The state is a low-interest loan that would considerably help the community club. We're only 360 families, and we need the 20-year loan to do it. We have paid all our debts. We have one small pool bill. Everything else is, we own everything. We have collateral. We have 3 lots we can use as collateral. So we have to do it one way or the other, and we're just asking for your help.
No, I understand. Listen, they need to know what happens if they
Sure.
say no as well
Yes.
as if they say yes, right?
Yes.
So, do you have any idea of the parameters of the private funding that you're talking about? The term, the interest rates?
No, sir, I have not.
You believe they would be substantially higher than the 2%?
It would be substantially higher, and,
But how do you know that if you?
well, the state is 2%. A bank loan would be 6%, 7% on a construction loan, and it has to be approved. So that would be something for us very hard to bear.
I have a question. Are you going to generate enough revenue to be able to afford your loan payments?
Yes, we do now through routine membership after our costs. We have enough money to do the yearly payments. Yes, that's correct.
I just want to add this is a revolving loan. So what that means is every few years, the funding, the source of the funding comes back around. So it's paid for by the entities that take out the loan. So it's, you only have an opportunity. It's every I think it varies 3 to 5 years to kind of get in line and apply for this funding stream at 2% over 20 years, which is, I don't want to say, it's little to no interest. So it's pretty substantial. Just to kind of clarify, how that works a little bit for you. And again, I think there's some specifics and negotiations of terms and conditions that, and I'm not an expert in terms of, I'm an expert in a fair amount of things, but I'm not with the specifics of the legalities of the agreement. But as you can see in some of the information I provided to you, you have an opportunity to discuss what your liability is and to modify or come to some terms that would be, amenable to the township. And it's, approving the application, just to come full circle, is not you, agreeing to the liability at this point in time. It's just allowing my client or these other entities the ability to get in line and start a process, and that you would be involved in that process, if that helps. So.
Anything further?
We're 360 families, and there's a lot of education there in the summertime, and I hate to see something happen that we can't pass it forward to the next generation. So that's another reason why we're here. It's a great township responsibility for us as board members to teach our kids and our families to have some place to go that's safe. So that's why we're asking for your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Wedgewood Country Club, if you guys want to approach.
Good evening. I'm Michael Santarian, representing Wedgewood Country Club. Do you need my address?
Spell your last name and your business address.
Santerian. And the address is 200 Hertville Road. And these are our consultants from Mazer Consulting. Good evening. My name's Andrew Banff. I'm the engineer that's been working with Wedgewood Country Club over the past several years in
Spell your last name,
It's
please.
spelled B-A-N-F-F. And my business address is 2000 Mid-Atlantic Drive, Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I've been working, good evening, council. I've been working several years with Wedgewood Country Club, and we had a dam failure in 2011. It might have been a hurricane that might have come through or a big rainstorm. Dam overtopped and caused an erosion problem that worked its way up through the structure. Dam didn't completely fail. It held the water. Ultimately, it was an existing inlet that connects to a township storm sewer system that a block fell out of it, and as the water was overtopping, it eroded some. The dam owner has fixed that repair, made the repair of the dam at that time. It was an emergency repair. We got our dam safety permits in place to make that repair, and everything is good with the dam at this point in time. But in 2011, the dam was an unknown dam. It was unknown to the property owner. It was known to them that they had a structure there, but it was not known that it was a regulated dam through DEP. I performed the inspections after the 2011 failure, confirmed that there was some repairs that were needed to the structure, and performed different reports and analyses to find out what the existing conditions were for the structure. Through that process, we're at this point in time in the process of we just recently prepared our inspection report and found the dam to be safe and compliant with minimal upgrades and improvements. And that's what we're here for tonight, is that we did prepare that application for this loan. And it is only an application for a loan. It doesn't obligate the township to engage in that if we do succeed in getting the funding from the state. But we would need to then go through the process of obtaining additional dam permits, other regulatory requirements, soil erosion permits also, and making improvements. Now, our improvements to the structure are not being required by dam safety. They're not being required by anybody. The dam, as it is right now, is safe. It was functional. It's been there for 50 years. It's a small structure located at the end of the golf course. But it is not completely compliant with current engineering criteria. So we're looking to make that improvement to the structure. What we are planning to do is trying to get it out of the classification of being a dam. Through some engineering, we may be able to change some inverts on some storm pipes, lower a couple weirs, and lower some embankments, and actually get it away from being called a Class 2 dam. The structure right now is a dam that is upstream of some residences. It's upstream, directly upstream of a township sewer pump station. One of the adjoining property owners to the site is the Township of Washington with the pump station. So the dam is actually holding back some water. If the failure occurs, when it does overtop, and it occurs regularly, it occurs every a storm event, about 4 or 5 inches of rain will cause the structure to overtop. But it will flood through one residence. It will flood through a township-owned sewer pump station and eventually make its way into the Big Timber Creek. So we're looking to try to minimize that overtopping event. We're trying to improve our structure, increase the capacity of the spillway. When it was built, they didn't really think about how much capacity it needs. Development occurred in the area, a lot of discharges coming into the structure, a lot of runoff, and we have an opportunity here to go after ask for some money from the state to get a loan. Not being obligated by the state to ask for it. He doesn't have to repair the dam. But we're looking for some help and have the township co-sign our application for that.
How much do we need to co-sign for you guys?
Our estimate right now is looking at $125,000. That's with the engineering and some minor improvements to the dam. Mostly a spillway and a new outlet structure that would allow them to lower the dam without any kind of pumping situation.
Do you have anything for them? Do you have any questions for them?
I don't. Same program as the other.
Same program as the other one. We're looking just to have the co-sign of the township at this point in time. And then if we're lucky enough to get awarded the loan, then we'd have to go into an agreement with the town, whatever conditions that would be required between the two owners.
Thank you, and thank you for sending me the information.
Thank you. Do you need a copy of that now, or?
Is that what you emailed me, or?
I emailed you, yes.
Do you just
Thank you.
Okay.
Council, before we make a decision on this, I'm going to suggest we open to the public for everyone else. That way, if people from the public want to go, that way council can sit and discuss this. So I'm going to motion to open to the public.
Make that motion.
We'll come. All right, Angela wants to do
Let's do
reports.
this first. Let's open to the public. They've been sitting here long enough.
All right, we got a motion. I'll second. Roll call, or all in favor? Aye. We're now open to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on the issues of the dams or anything else from the meeting or down, please approach.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Keir. I'm from over Whitman Square. Under old business, we'd like to try and find out where do we stand on the petition that was submitted with regard to the salaries. Can anybody tell us that?
After you sit down, Jerry, we're going to answer your question.
Well, can't you answer that now?
No.
Why not?
I don't have the answer. So somebody else is going to answer that for you. But they're going to answer when you sit down.
You know, we're really upset about this. What kind of review status are we in right now?
Sir, we will answer your question following the end of the public portion.
Why?
Because that's the rule of parliamentary procedure that the council has adopted.
Isn't this meeting supposed to be by the Roberts rules?
And that is by Robert's rule, sir.
Well, Robert's rules says that the issues would be answered by the members of the committee.
And they will be once public portions close. It's a parliamentary rule, sir, that this council adopted.
Well,
you'll get your answer, sir, in a few minutes.
And then I won't have a chance to respond?
It's up to the council if they're going to reopen the public portion.
You know, as members of the council here, are you in agreement with using Robert's rules?
Yes.
You know, a parliamentarian in Robert's rules has no authority to answer, only to direct where you're out of order. And that's where your resolution went several months ago, 2 months ago. And we and the people in the township don't like that. We elected you, 5 members up here, and we elected a mayor. And they're elected to serve us, the people of the township, the taxpayers of the township, the residents of the township. And this business of having to wait for our attorney sitting over here to answer the questions is not appreciated. And we'll have to find some way to change that.
Good evening. Giancarlo Dorazio. I live in Washington Township. At the last meeting, after you closed to the public, a gentleman called out from the general public with a follow-up question, and you answered. When another gentleman called for a follow-up question, you denied him. That's discrimination. When you enforce the rule of the time limit and you are rigid on one person and you lenient on another, that's discrimination. When you elect to answer even a simple yes or no with some people and refuse to answer others, That's discrimination. I have an advice for you. Before it goes to the next level of discrimination, I advise that you step back from the microphone, or maybe even turn the audio off, so that you are not tempted to answer while we are speaking. Stratford, a small town in Camden County, not too far from here, does not have limitation on public participation. Williamstown, Marlborough Township, right down the road from here, they don't have a time limit on public participation. As a matter of fact, one of the council members told me that they don't believe in suppressing freedom of speech. But in Washington Township, we have not just time limitation, but the council seems not to engage with the public. This is called the public participation, and it's ironic that we do not convey with each other. Some of the good ideas come from the public, conversing with the public, but you refuse to do so. You rather stand up to the public rather than stand up for them. Anyway, my 5-minute freedom of speech is almost over, but I'll be back to talk about an issue that I want to discuss with you.
Council, good evening. Ralph Campana, 2 Pear Tree Place, Sewell, New Jersey. I agree 100% with Mr. Durazio just said. It just seems like we're being told to just sit down and make your statement, and that's it. We'll make a closing statement, and that's the end of that. Doesn't sound right. In my mind, it isn't right. But I wanted to come up and I want to talk about the resolution from this evening, R-158-217, involving the public disposal of vehicles, from what I understand. I'd like to have some clarity on that. What would be the reason for not running the vehicles to an auction? There were vehicles involved. Are you familiar with that? It was 20 vehicles or something?
We'll answer the questions
Okay.
at the end of the
I'm just curious, because at an auction, you have more than one person buying the vehicles. So I don't understand why a disposal of the vehicles. I've been to auctions and people bid on them, and sometimes you get people that are going to bid high and maybe low, but you don't know what the vehicles can be worth. So I'm just curious why we wouldn't put it out to auction. Just curious. That would just make sense to me. My background is the automobile business for 35 years. It just doesn't make sense, but whatever. I'd like an answer on that. Thank you.
Seeing no one else from the public?
I guess second
I don't know
round.
if that was a rule or not.
Devising the rules that were adopted, I'm not telling you what to do. The rules that were adopted were one time, 5 minutes.
He used 3. He used 3. Leaving 2 minutes, if you want to do that.
Well, you do have 2 minutes left from your prior time.
2 minutes left. I'll see you at the next meeting.
All
By the
right.
way, I am the only one that was reminded that you should not speak to. That's discrimination.
How? Nah, never mind. Whatever.
Chad Julian again, 38 Bells Lake Drive. I speak as a homeowner now. I actually live on Bells Lake. So that lake is important to my neighborhood, my property. If you cannot help Bells Lake, the lake would have to go down, I'm assuming, since we don't know how far we're getting. So as a homeowner now, I'm just stating that I do have a lot more concerns than just being on the board for that area. And also that that lake handles all runoff water from Kennedy Hospital here, everything upstream. So we handle a lot of extra water that lake handles that no other lake handles in that area also. So when you make your decision, please think about the homeowners that are also live on that lake and not just the community club. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
After this, we can do it.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, motion to close.
Make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Now, would you go again, please? Is that all? All yes?
Yes, all yes.
By the way, under new business, we do have two other discussion items, and then we have reports.
Yes. No, that's right. There's a reminder,
Well, Nick,
one
you want to
meeting-
take the questions from,
oh, that's right. Let's answer the questions. So Jerry Curie had a question about petition status. Leo, if you could give us your answer to that, or Stuart.
Yeah, I'm working through the process. I've been meeting with the attorney. I hope to have a resolve and a report ready within the next 30 to 45 days. I met with the attorney today, and we'll be having further meetings to bring it to a close.
And
The only other question I saw there was from Mr. Campano about the Resolution 158 about the auctioning of the police vehicles. I don't know if we want to have the officer come back up and answer the question.
yeah, sure, Brian.
I'm actually not an officer. I'm a public works supervisor.
Excuse me,
I don't
I
want to
apologize.
get in trouble for impersonating one of the guys in the back. It is an auction. It's just not an on-site auction. In the past, we've held an on-site auction at our public works facility. We haven't been happy with the returns that we've gotten. So last year, there was a recommendation to try an off-site auction house, which gives us a lot more exposure. The vehicle lot has usually 1,000 people at the auction on site, and then also online exposure for the auction. And as I said earlier, we sold 2 identical units last year, one at our auction here on site and one there. We got 2,000 here and we got 6,000 up there. So we are going this route because we feel like it's going to greatly increase our returns, on these vehicles. So it is, in fact, an auction. It's located on Conshohocken Road in Plymouth Meeting. It's about 45 minutes from here, but anyone from the public can go online the day of the auction, view the items, and place a bid. And J.J. Kane Auctioneers. So you can Google them. They have tremendous reviews. A lot of large companies use them, and we feel we're going to do very well. Yep.
Brian, in addition, do we get quotes on what we're planning to send up there prior to going there?
Yes.
At least an estimate on what they believe they'll get for the items we're
Yes.
attempting to auction?
Based on their experience in the business, they have a representative come down. They walked the facility with myself. We went over all the vehicles, and they gave us a low and a high estimate. It's between $30,000 and $50,000 of the conservative estimates for the lot that we're selling. It's about 15 police vehicles and 5 public works vehicles.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nope.
That's it. That was the only questions.
I just,
You wanna
if I
say?
can make a comment.
Yeah.
I understand the frustration from some of the residents on the resolution that was passed with the 5-minute rule and all, but it's not squashing your freedom of speech or anything like that. We encourage you to reach out to us, email, phone calls, or anything like that. We're all always willing to meet with you or answer any of your questions aside from in the 5-minute, time that you have to speak. You can always reach out to any of us up here, that we're all willing to answer any of your questions or meet with you. I know the agenda's put out a few days prior, so if you have any questions regarding the agenda, like I said, I encourage you to contact us ahead of time or after the meeting. Welcome to meet with you, so.
And Angela, in addition to that, I think one of the issues we had when passing that is that the meetings were devolving into being uncivil. And I think we've had very civil meetings and discourse and conversations, whether it's be us answering questions after you've made your public comments or in the crowd after the meeting's been completed. I'll stay as long as needed with anyone who wants to discuss any issue at any time.
Absolutely.
So,
And Council President, just if I could be recognized for a moment on the legality of the 5-minute rule and the legality of the answering questions or responding to comments after the public portion's over. Under the Open Public Meetings Act, it's specifically defined as a public comment portion. It's the period of time when the public can comment, ask questions, raise issues. It's their time. It's not council's time, it's their time. And I am happy to defend any case where anybody claims that we have to answer questions during the public portion. It's public comments, not the public question and answer session. It's the public comment portion. And I think that council does a very good job. So certainly the Open Public Meetings Act would trump, to the extent that, and I don't even think the Roberts rules even address that particular issue. The Open Public Meetings Act defines as a public comment portion. So I am fully comfortable with that parliamentary procedure. And you do a great job of answering questions. We keep a list. Everybody answers them to the best of their ability. So I think there's not a problem with that whatsoever. And it's interesting, ironic to some extent, because Mr. DeRazio, who is no longer here, when he was council president, had that very same parliamentary procedure adopted by his council from 2014. We had done some reviews, and that was actually a parliamentary procedure that he installed when he was council president, I believe in 2014, if I recall the resolution correctly. And many towns hold their governing body's responses to the end of the public portion for the sole reason, and the simple reason, it's the public comment period. We're up here talking and voting on things the whole meeting, you are at least, that this is the public's time, and that we should not interfere with the public's time unless they obviously break with civility. So I have no problem with that parliamentary procedure. I think it's perfectly legal, and quite frankly, it seems like the meetings are actually more instructive to the public since you've adopted that procedure, at least from where I'm sitting. So I have no problems with it legally or how you do it. And by the way, you're under no obligation to ever answer a question anyway, and you answer them anyway. So I think you do a good job with that, from my opinion. So thank you for that.
All right, appreciate the comments from Angela and Sean and Stuart. I don't like it. I wasn't in favor of it. I think the 5-minute rule is fair, just because, people can go on and on. I'll be truthful, I hate it. I think that when they come up, we should have a discussion with them and have a conversation, even open up to the public before we even vote on resolutions. So that way, if there is a question on that, they might see something that we don't.
I agree, Nick.
But, I'm trying to be respectful to you guys. It got passed. I'm doing my best with it. I try not to answer or yell out when I, can. And if anybody feels like they are discriminated against, I apologize fully. I'm not trying to. It's hard to hold my tongue sometimes. But I think that it's more or less barbaric that we make them come up here, we just stare at them, and then they sit down. But I do see your view. I think you're right in your sense, and I have my kind of old school ways, that's all. But anyway, we'll move on. Do you want to do your reports?
You could do the reminder.
Would you just
Yeah.
the reminder of the one meeting?
Well, this reminder, do we have a date yet or no? Because it says reminder for July and August. What date?
There are the 4 dates, and you picked one.
The
for
council needs to
July.
decide. Normally, we are scheduled for 2 meetings that you scheduled in January. Normally, in the past, it's my understanding they only meet once in July and once in August. It's just a reminder to you that you have to come up with a date. We still have 2 meetings in June to be able to set those dates, but the public needs to be made aware what those dates are. And I need to do that through a publication in the newspapers to let them know what the meetings are for July and August, as well as on the website. So take some time, look at your schedules.
Okay.
See which date would be best for everyone, We will adjust our billing and everything accordingly. We can do that, but I'm not saying you don't have, you could go 2 meetings, but the practice has always been 1 meeting in the summer in July and August.
That's okay. I need time to look at my schedule. I'm not sure if I'm traveling.
So you guys are all right making that decision at the next meeting? or
Yes,
the
if that's
meeting
okay.
after? All right.
It's fine. I won't be at the next meeting. I'll be at the Washington Township High School Awards. So,
Okay.
but just
Just look at the
I'm
dates and
open
then-
in
okay.
July, so I don't care what day you pick.
If you do pull off one of the meetings, make sure it's either it's the first meeting of both months or the second meeting of both months, but not the
Opposite.
opposite, because you wouldn't have time to act
Okay.
between the second meeting of July and the first meeting in August.
Would even a meeting in the middle of the month work for both months, or is that
It's
pushing
up
it?
to everybody's schedule.
Okay. So we'll try to keep it within the same range. All right. And beginning on June 1st, the township will be closed on Fridays until Labor Day. Normal hours, Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And also, the building will be closed on Memorial Day on the 29th. And we move on to reports. Longfellow?
Nothing.
For the Board of Education, there's a Senior Service Day on June 2nd. High school students will be teaming up with the elementary school and making lantern projects that will also help the Cal Project and Children's Hospital. The project is sponsored by Kennedy Health, and there's 650 participants thus far. For the Economic Board, a meeting with Robin Sarlo to team up and work on the RFP, and Angela Donato is going to be working on getting grants to supplement the costs. And that's all I have for right now.
Nothing from me.
On June 4th, 2017, at 3 o'clock, Old Stonehouse Village is going to have music at Bunker Hill and Washington Township Historic Preservation Commission. They got a couple artists coming in, doing some songs. Should be a good time. Tickets are $10. For students, it's $8. And the tickets are available at www.music@bunkerhill.org/buy tickets now HTML. That is a complicated website. You can email me on my township email, and I will forward it to you. So, should be a good event. Ms. Donato?
Just that, a few things. The Memorial Day ceremony is Monday, Memorial Day at 11 a.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park. Then following June 3rd at the park is, at Washington Lake Park, is Relay for Life. June 4th is Kennedy Cancer Survivor Day. June 11th is the WTPR Color Run. So if anyone is interested in any of those, you can contact Lisa Collins for more details. And on Monday, June 19th, we are holding the Family Community Services Alliance and a few other committee members from the school and the school board are working for the candlelight vigil at 7 p.m. The vigil will take place at 8:15 p.m., along with what Dana was saying with the lanterns. The candlelight vigil is to remember those who have died from substance-related incidents through Washington Township and neighboring communities, and to recognize those still suffering from this disease of addiction, and to show support to their family and friends. And again, that's at the Washington Lake Amphitheater. I believe it's going to be on the website too, so for more information.
All right. Did the administration have anything that you need to address?
No, sir.
All right. Kind of throw it to them after, but Council, I'm going to try to move Resolution 165 in the executive session to discuss the dam loans. I'll make the motion if somebody wants to second it.
That's under the attorney-client exception?
Attorney-client
second that.
exception. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Longfellow?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ferry? Fazio?
Yes. So we'll probably be in executive session for about 15 to 30 minutes at the most, guys. All right?
Anybody here on the dam presentations, you may want to stay because there might be action taken following executive session.
Of executive session. And
Make that motion?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, council.
So this evening, we've had 3 requests, and they're all the same. They're looking for letters of support for the township to be co-borrowers on various different dam loan applications with the state loan program. We have Lake Candle, we have Bells Lake, and we have the Wedgewood Country Club. So that's what you have before you.
So we'll do it like this. I'll make a motion. It needs to get a second, and then we'd have discussion, and we'd vote on it afterwards. So we'll start with Lake Candle. Do we have a motion to co-sign with Lake Candle?
This would be, again, the motion would be to give them a conditional letter of support, subject to the loan guidelines. And I would just recommend that if you were going to do it as their lawyer, that the township would reserve the right at any time to withdraw its support in its sole discretion. That's the conditional letter of support that I would be thinking of if I were going to put forth a motion in favor of this. Just to give some parameters and with an understanding of the folks that are here that this letter of support is a deadline that's been imposed upon us, and that they understand that they proceed, if the letter of support is even approved, that they proceed at their own risk, and that they could be spending money going forward with professionals, and at the end of the day, the council may say no to the co-signing and the co-borrowing. So that would be the understanding that we would have. This is not a unconditional letter of support, it'd be a conditional letter of support with these types with that type of a framework.
And that's if the motion gets passed. So,
Or you don't have to listen to my legal advice and you can do an unconditional letter of support. I don't recommend it.
So are you amending the motion to read
Basically
a
what
conditional
he said.
letter of support for the loan for, which was the first
Lake
Lake Candle? And with the option of reserving the right in there to withdraw that support at the town council's own discretion?
yep,
That is your motion.
that is the motion. It needs a second.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll roll call.
Councilwoman Donato?
No.
Councilman Longfellow?
No.
Councilman Pasqualone?
No.
Councilman Perry?
No.
Councilman Fazio?
Yes. Sorry, Jay.
Fails 4-1.
And we'll make the same motion for Bells Lake.
Can I have a motion, please?
Second.
Roll call?
Any discussion?
No. Yeah. Anyone? Something? Nope.
And this is a $900,000 borrowing.
Seeing no discussion, roll call?
Councilwoman Donato?
No.
Councilman Longfellow?
No.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
No.
Councilman Perry?
No.
Councilman Fazio?
No.
Fails 5-0.
And the motion for Wedgewood Country Club?
That's a $125,000 borrowing.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Donato?
No.
Councilman Longfellow?
No.
Councilwoman Pasqualone?
No.
Councilman Perry?
No.
Councilman Fazio?
No.
If I may,
Motion fails.
I'd just like to say thank you for all coming in, but I just don't think it's prudent to risk township taxpayers' dollars on private dams. It's just my personal opinion.
Mr. Selb, do we have any other business?
No, we have none, and if we're going forward, we need a motion to adjourn.
When's our next meeting?
Next meeting is June the 14th.
Make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned
Sorry, guys.
at 9:50.
You guys are where you guys own